So this one is from the same vineyard as the Cabernet grapes. This one too? Yeah.
All right.
It's really light bodied. We got a lot of strawberry and cherry on this one. So this is what we're doing. Pinot for both of you?
Yes.
Alrighty.
Thank you. This is the 2020?
Yeah. Yeah, 2020.
Hey, it's Rex on the road, and we are stopping today at Shadow Ranch Vineyard. Sam Patterson, the winemaker, the owner, is with us today. The weather a little windy, a little rainy outside, but that doesn't stop good wine, right?
No, I always say, wine tasting is kind of an indoor sport, so it's always the same temperature inside.
Yeah, exactly. And you just poured a bottle. What did you pour?
This is our 2019 Zinfandel.
Okay.
So we make it from grapes grown on multiple sites here in the Fairplay region.
Right.
So it kind of gives a real good example of the best that Fairplay has to offer.
Right, exactly. And now Shadow Ranch, how long have you guys been here?
So we purchased the property in 2006, planted the first vines in 2006. We opened in 2007 for wine tasting. However, our first vintage was actually 2004, where we made a Cabernet from El Dorado County, but prior to actually establishing the winery.
All right, great. And tell a little bit about your wine background and how you came to Shadow Ranch.
Well, my background is actually in the vineyards. I spent most of my time farming wine grapes throughout the state. I studied viticulture and enology with my emphasis in viticulture at UC Davis.
Okay.
And then from there, my background was farming in the Napa Valley with the Charles Krug Winery, and then I came up here to Foothills and started working with Renwood in their vineyards before I identified Shadow Ranch as a spot to grow our own grapes.
All right. Well, and so you kind of got a good feel of the whole region, then, right? And
that was kind of the path that we took as I was doing grow relations. We were looking over about 1,500 acres total throughout the state, with a majority between Amador and El Dorado here. And so after we were able to identify certain spots, this spot, Fairplay in particular, with its high elevation, the 2,500 foot elevations of our vineyards are some of the higher vineyard elevations in the state, which keeps us a little bit cooler than even some of the surrounding regions. Just that 1,000 feet higher really makes a big difference.
Now, you have a lot of microclimates here in Fairplay, too, so you can grow a lot of different types of grapes, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So with the various aspects, we're in the foothills, and so there's northern, southern, western exposures that each will be ideal for different grape varieties. In addition to locations with the rivers, that ridge sites, lower valley sites. So a lot of different microclimates, from anywhere from a grape as delicate as Pinot Noir can grow in certain spots up here to our traditional Zinfandel and Syrahs.
Okay, great. And so, as you came here, what really attracted you to the Fairplay AVA versus some of the other areas maybe that you checked out?
Again, it was that elevation. Okay. So we're about 1,000 feet higher than the Shenandoah Valley, which is the next in Amador County.
Right.
And what I found up here was that our sites, we get warm. Make no mistake, we get warm up here during the growing season. However, we seldomly get above 100 degrees. So we get that 98, 99, but staying just below that triple digits really makes for a more of a complexity in the wines, and gives us a little bit of a longer growing season to mature those grapes and hang them to get them really physiologically ripe.
So
those flavors.
What varietal of grapes do you feel takes kind of the most work, the most attention to make sure that grows right?
Well, that's a tricky question. So there's some that take a lot more work. Whereas a Barbera grape, requires a lot more irrigation and attention to grow its grape. Whereas Zinfandel is kind of essentially bulletproof when it comes to irrigation and so forth. So from my point of view, what grapes grow well up here, what brought me to the foothills originally is Zinfandel. That's my favorite variety. I did my research in college on Zinfandel. I drink Zinfandel, and so I think it really expresses the climate and the terroir of this area. That said, Syrah is doing really well up here in the foothills as well, especially in Fairplay at that higher elevation. and we found some of our most successes coming with Tempranillo. We planted a small
Tempranillo.
Tempranillo block here on the estate. It was one of our first blocks that we established here, and it's our most popular wine, and we're having a lot of success with the quality and characteristic of that wine.
Well, that's great. I mean, that's great. I mean, I think Fair Play is kind of this hidden gem that, you know, some folks know about and some folks don't. And I think it's kind of this hidden gem of wineries. You got about 25 wineries that are up here producing great wines and award-winning wines, and it's a relaxing environment. You're going to be able to meet the winemaker. You're going to be able to meet the owner and really see what their story is and what they're doing. Right?
Yeah, and so with those 25 wineries, most of us are relatively small producers that are hands-on and producing, you know, handcrafted wines, and so it's really a passion for most of the wineries up here that there's that you're seeing what we're producing, what we want to drink and what we want to display to the rest of the world, as opposed to a corporate mastiche type wine production. So,
right, exactly. You gotta do more of that wine.
Yeah.
I hate that grape. I hate that grape. Well, you mentioned you're a Zinfandel guy,
Yes.
right? That's your thing.
Yes.
And what makes Zinfandel so unique to somebody that may not be so familiar with Zinfandel?
What I like about Zinfandel is it doesn't seem to have a real defined style. So we can make them jammy, we can make them spicy. You can make a white Zinfandel, for example.
Okay.
So there's a big spectrum that the winemaker and the grape grower can work with in developing a wine that they feel is going to represent the best. Whereas, with a Cabernet, it's got a defined style. If I make a Cabernet that doesn't taste like a Cabernet, everybody's going to say, well, that doesn't taste like a Cabernet. But Zinfandel, again, we have a much wider spectrum. And again, up here in Fairplay at those higher elevations, we're producing, more of that fresh, berry characteristics and a little bit of spice in the wines. They're not as jammy as you would get in the warmer elevations. And so I like that extra complexity that we're seeing up here in the foothills.
Right. And I mean, you got to love the foothills up here because it stays cool a lot longer than anywhere else, right? I mean, temperatures.
It does. So, I mean, the key to growing premium wine grapes is cool nights. And so how we get to a cool night, different regions have different means. We have elevation. The cold air comes off of the Sierra foothills and it shifts over the night period. Whereas if you take a Napa Valley, for example, they have more of a marine influence. So they're getting their cooler weather from the San Pablo Bay. So it's getting those cooling nights that are really helping us produce that high quality wine grape. And then up here in the foothills, of course, that the coolness it produces the quality grapes that we're growing. But we are a warm growing region. But for example, comparing us, say, to Napa, our growing season starts a little bit later and it ends a little bit earlier. So it's a shorter, more compact season. So we have a little bit higher daytime temperatures, but different grape varieties are suited to grow best, and Zinfandel is one of those, Syrah as well.
Right. And now, sometimes you get snow here, right?
Yes, we do, yes.
And how does that affect the grapes? I guess depending on when you get the snow.
Depending on when you get snow. Typically, snow comes during the winter, during the grapes' dormant season. So while they're asleep, nothing's really bothering them. Extreme cold in the winter can damage grapevines, but in California, we don't get those types of temperatures. Snow and rain during the growing or during the dormant season is great. We can replenish our soil profiles, which are pretty sandy and well drained to begin with, so it doesn't take a lot of water to get us up to full. And of course, we want to have those well drained soils to produce premium wine grapes moving forward. Of course, as snow in the springtime can have its disadvantages with frost and so forth, but we're somewhat protected in the foothills on our hillside locations or when it rises, cold air settles. So snow in April is probably not ideal. Snow in January, bring it on.
All right, good to know. Yeah, I always wondered about that. I was like, wow, they're getting some snow up that way. How's that going to affect the harvest? Good to know. We're at Shadow Ranch Vineyards in Fairplay, in the Fairplay AVA, which is about 40 minutes outside of Sacramento on the way to Lake Tahoe.
On the way, yes,
Yeah, and so, about 40 minutes right around Placerville. If you're looking for a city, a town, Placerville, I guess, would be the closest city or town. So this is great. So you brought some Zinfandel out. You brought your favorite.
I brought my favorite out.
So we're going to go ahead and taste that here and talk about it.
So this is our 2019 Zinfandel. This is our most current release.
Okay.
Again, it comes from 3 different vineyard sites that we farm here in Fairplay, and so it's a real good example of the Fairplay Zinfandel and what the quality characteristics we get. This one has a lot of oak on it, and so it's made more in a French style, if there's such thing on Zinfandel.
So you're using French barrels.
French barrels, and a high quantity. We're probably like 60%, new oak on this wine, and so that leads to that smoky and more that spicy characteristic. And the wine is it's a bigger Zinfandel that's great for pairing with your stronger meat dishes.
Sure,
great
yeah,
with lamb and
and I mean I get like a blackberry.
And so that's that fresher berry. I was talking about that blackberry, blueberry, fresh berry characteristics more so than the jammy, cooked style of fruit.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrific. That's terrific. Like you say, I mean, barbecue or something, and then you got a small plate that you brought us.
Yeah. So we have our charcuterie sticks, if you will. It's like a tapas, very reminiscent to what you would find in the Basque region. And so this is a part of our typical tasting. So when you come to Shadow Ranch and you do a wine tasting, you're going to get a small bite included with some olives and charcuterie to enjoy and pair with all the wines that we make here at Shadow Ranch.
How many wines do you make here?
Oh, we make quite a few. With 6 wines are our primary wines that we make, with 1 white wine being our Sauvignon Blanc, that's grown right here on the estate. We do make a number of other very small production wines exclusively for our wine club. And so, join the wine club and you're going to get to find something unique that these things are done in maybe 50 case quantities. We farm a lot of grapes for ourselves, for other vineyards, for other wineries. And so we have access to a lot of really unique grape varieties. And so the fact that we have our hands on so many different acres, when we find something that works good, we try to make a small wine for our wine club.
Sure. Well, that's great. So if you want to visit the tasting room and come up for the weekend, what's the best way to, do you need to make a reservation? Do you
you can walk in. We encourage you to make reservations. You can do them online. You can find us at Cellar Pass. You can find us on our website as well. If you let us know you're coming, then we'll know you're coming. We'll be able to take that much better care of you.
Yeah, it's always nice. I mean, I think if you can make a reservation, you're going to do that. Sometimes you're in the area and you go, hey, let's swing by and see if we can go in there. Why not drop by and check it out? Shadow Ranch Vineyard and the Fairplay AVA, Sam Patterson, the owner and the winemaker, right here at Shadow Ranch Vineyards. And it's Rex on the road. We'll catch up with you next time.
Thanks.